Are you a bit sketchy on Overkill's background? Well, let's take a look at him in preparation for his appearance into the Energon Universe. G'day all, welcome back to Frostbite's G.I. Joe Repro. So, with the release of the new G.I. Joe comic coming out on November 13, I'm super excited. We seem to be seeing a bit of a reshuffle of, some characters, namely Baroness. Like that's something I'm definitely interested to read more about. But we've seen the introduction of a very old school character, and of course, we're talking about Overkill. So if you've been reading the Destro series, you've seen the Crimson Twins and Destro have had a little bit of a power struggle, and then interjected into that has been Chameleon. I'm very, very excited to see where that leads. I've sort of, it's been led to us that it's the character Astoria, Carlton Ritz. But yeah, I still hold out hope that it's Erica Latine, or, we're going to see a pair of twins there. But yeah, during her very motivated attacks on Destro, we've seen her mention a couple of times Overkill. And usually it's been associated with Overkill being in the background, doing Overwatch or organizing weaponry, just in some type of support role for Chameleon. So, yeah, I wanted to sort of take more of a look at Overkill. I definitely am not an expert on Overkill. And as per a lot of my videos, doing the research on this character or this topic has filled me in a fair bit, and it's been really good to sort of read into that content. So yeah, let's crack on. In the past, we've seen 4 different versions of Overkill. So like my big thing with that new series coming out is not only like I want to get more information on Chameleon and Baroness. I also want to get more information on Overkill himself. Um, so, as you can see on the slide, left to right, we've got the 4 different variations of Overkill. And then the spot ready at the end there for when we finally find out if we're getting a new version of Overkill, or, as I would believe, it's going to be one of these older versions. But which one? That's the exciting thing. So I wanted to sort of brief you on all of the versions that we know about, so that we can just be in a better place to either guess or just be more happy with what we get delivered in this Energon universe. All right. So you can see first up, we've got this version of Overkill from the Deke cartoon series. This version was just flat out a bat, but not just any bat. It was a special bat. It was highly sophisticated and capable of coming up with rudimentary tactics and strategies. Um, you can see there a couple of the episodes that he appeared in. You can see a picture of him. It's just, this thing was basically just a really upgraded bat. From these Deke episodes, we actually ended up with the V1 talking battle commanders figure. It included just completely original parts, and including items that were very bat-like, which is cool. Like this guy's in charge of the bat, so why not? Some of those bits that we got portable laser cannons, claws, and hands. And looking at the figure itself, just had that really beautiful see-through or transparent fluoro chest, very indicative of the time that it was released. The fold card for this guy read, Overkill began as an experimental prototype for the 3rd generation of bats, but because of his advanced microcomputers and enhanced tactical logic programs, the cost projections were just too high for profitable mass production. He might have continued to gather dust on a shelf in the Cobra research labs if Cobra Commander hadn't decided to utilize him as a battlefield commander for the android troopers. It was Cobra Commander's idea to add a voice synthesizer program to repeat demoralizing slogans at deafening volumes. Overkill's primary job is to operate the destructive Cobra Earthquake battle vehicle. So that's what we saw. It's what we saw from that D cartoon. And if you go back and watch it, it was a bit of a very dry character. Um, you know, no real sarcasm or anything like that. Just dry, I'm going to kill you type bat. So yeah. And then we ended up with this Overkill. So this Overkill, we're basically from the comics. We saw him make appearances in the Image and Devil's Due production comics. After appearing, he was later revealed to be Robert Skelton, who you may remember as being the infamous Saw Viper from the Marvel Comics, who just shit whipped a whole bunch of Joes. So we saw him kill, a whole bunch of people. I think it was comic issue 109. So in the Devil's Due series, he gets recruited by Serpentor and his new organization, the Coil. You may have heard of it. And, can sort of look at those comics and see that Serpentor sent 10 men to go and restrain him and bring him back, and only 6 returned. So, 4 dudes getting killed just trying to pull him back. So you can see the 3 covers here of that he mainly appeared in. So when he gets pulled back in, he chooses the name Overkill in reference to his impressive body count. He participates in the battle against the Joes and Cobra on Cobra Island and fights with General Hawk. Would have killed him, but Kamakura intervened and at the last minute and saved Hawk. Wounded, Overkill made his way into a submarine with an escaping Cobra commander and collapses, deeply expressing the desire for power. So after that, he was experimented on by Cobra scientists and given his own mobile targeting system and robotic implants, including cutting off his hand for an implant. He did battle with the Joes overseas and proved to be a formidable opponent before being defeated by Snake Eyes. He actually begged Snake Eyes to kill him, but, Snake Eyes refused to do it. Overkill said that he didn't want to live like this, but yeah, Snake Eyes just flat refused to kill him. So at the end of that, we saw Overkill just last seen laying in the desert, not feeling well. We also saw him later as a patient at a Cobra facility raided by a torpedo wetsuit and a group of Navy SEALs. And then in that N1, or the one on the right-hand side, we can see he was eventually killed in the America's Elite series during Tomex's raid on the Coffin, which was a prison run by G.I. Joe. So from this particular Robert Skelton comic series, we got 6 figures. And, they range from the V2 to the V7. Most of them weren't bad looking. We can see that one here, that's the V2. Doesn't actually look too bad to me. I never collected any of this line, but yeah, that one to me looks pretty decent. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about any of these figures that have come out for Overkill. Just noting that they were later figures, so you can of course expect them not to look too good, but yeah. So the file card of the first 3 read, being the leader of an entire unit of Android Troopers comes quite naturally to Overkill since more than 50% of his body has been replaced by mechanical parts. He's also equipped with an integral body armor, a self-contained breathing unit, and a wireless modem implanted into his brain. His vision has been enhanced with image intensifiers and infrared scanners. A targeting computer is hardwired between his right eye and his trigger finger. So that's some cool stuff, exactly what you'd expect for Overkill. Goes on to say that having command of a small army of mindless robots has affected his mind, making him overly sentimental and protective of his troops. Overkill sees them as individuals and gives them secret names, picking out some for special attention. This is why he has a grudge against Tunnel Rat, and we see Tunnel Rat just in that 2-pack there. Tunnel Rat, who during a sabotage mission poured sand into the supply of 30 weight motor oil for the bats, effectively disabling more than half of the unit. And then it gives you the statement of course I have feelings. They may be enhanced digitally, but they still have feelings. And I thought that was, it's really nice to hear, but, maybe not what you'd expect from a guy that mowed down a whole bunch of Joes. All right, next up. Now, I can blatantly tell you I'm not familiar with Valor versus Venom at all. But I went back and just checked out some stuff on this character. So this, the Valor versus Venom was a CGI movie from 2004. Overkill in this was now a half human and half machine cyborg version with a variety of robotic appendages and a tendency to repeat the end of his sentences in a manic tone of voice. He serves Cobra as Dr. Mindbender's lab assistant and the Bat Commander. So just something to note as well, throughout all of these characters or, different variants that we see of him, he's always a Bat Commander, except, of course, for when he was Saw Viper. But yeah, as Overkill, always a Bat Commander. Overkill looks down upon organics and believe he and his bats are better candidates to rule the world. In a series of fortuitous circumstances, he makes an alliance with Venomous Maximus, who is a mutated and brainwashed General Hawk. Together, they attempted to remove Cobra Commander from power and control Cobra themselves. The Joes are able to turn Maximus back into Hawk, and the Cobra base begins to explode around Overkill, who is seemingly crushed in the ensuing explosion. However, following the credits, Overkill's robotic hand raises up from the rubble. So this was theorized as a preview of the abandoned Robot Revolution line that was rumored to be following Valor versus Venom. Okay, so then we kick on to Sigma 6. I am also not familiar, or was not familiar with this line, and had to go and do a little bit of research on this as well. But yeah, Overkill returned in G.I. Joe Sigma 6. And in this, he sits inside a rejuvenation tank, wearing new armor, appearing far more robotic than the previous iterations that we've seen him. He's also revamped from a monotonous automation lab assistant to Cobra's chief scientist. He's smarter and more devious with a free will of his own. Overkill is still attempting to overthrow Cobra Commander with his new bats, this time in secret, and he has a new, more powerful bat called Overlord Vector, which he uses to kidnap General Hawk's son, Scott. Overkill believes Scott had hacked into Cobra's computers and possessed a formula which would allow his bats to evolve as they fought. So looking at a bit of AI there back in the time. His kidnapping of Scott ultimately led the Joes to Cobra's underwater headquarters. However, when Overkill scanned Scott's mind, he found that his discovery was just pure dumb luck. Overkill fled as Snake Eyes battled his creation, Overlord Vector. Overkill managed to escape and still resides in his tank inside of his lab in the underground Cobra base. Um, now planning to get hold of the Power Stone sought by the chosen Cobra to launch his robot revolution. With the falling of Cobra's Power Stones plot, Overkill has apparently given up on that quest. During the second season of the cartoon, Overkill is finally able to create himself a body and has removed himself from the healing tank. Let me know in the comments how much experience you have with the Sigma 6 and the Valor versus Venom stuff. I knew they existed, but yeah, absolutely no knowledge of them. So it was interesting to go back and take a look at this stuff because it's just stuff I can check out in the future. So of note, this Sigma 6 version of Overkill also had a comic appearance, and that was in G.I. Joe Sigma 6 number 3. That was from Devil's Due Publishing. And during this series, each issue featured one or two Joes pairing up against the Cobra character. Overkill's Joe opponent for this was Tunnel Rat. You can see him there on the poster. Storyline for this had Tunnel Rat alone in the Arctic without his Sigma suit, having to try and stop Overkill and his army of bats. You can go and check this out on Devil's Due's mini site, and it'll give you a preview of the Sigma 6 comics there. Okay, so now up to the bit that I'm excited about, which is the Energon Universe. So let's go over a few things with this. We see mention of Overkill in the Destro comics, and it's always by Chameleon. So nobody is talking about Chameleon or Overkill apart from, like Chameleon mentions Overkill. Destro has stated that Chameleon is Astoria, Carlton Ritz. So that's one thing. We're also noting that the code name Chameleon, it's been assigned to Astoria. So she, in my mind, is someone that hasn't had the code name before. So we can make an assumption that Overkill could either be a different version of a currently known version. So in saying that, could be, I've given you 4 different versions, it could be a 5th version. So like they've done with Chameleon, just make it a completely different person, or a known version of Overkill, one of those 4 that we've explained above. Yeah. So my guess for Chameleon in this, just noting where we're at with a bit of the history of what's happening here. We're sort of seeing the Crimson Twins trying to struggle for that market. We're seeing Destro sort of struggle for his market as well. When we see the bats aren't perfect, which to me sort of says that we're a bit back in time. So yeah, we're moving forward. My guess was, or is, that the Overkill that we're going to see in this is Robert Skelton. And I'm sort of putting it out there that he's going to be the non-robotic version of Robert Skelton. So, yeah. I'm sort of basing that on the fact of, in one of those characters that I explained above, Robert Skelton, when people, I think Serpentor sent out troops to go and get him, and he killed a few. They brought him in, and he renamed himself to Overkill purely based on the fact of his, of his number of his kills. So to me, there's nothing wrong with saying that we're going to see a non-robotic Robert Skelton or Saw Viper who move forward a little bit, knows he's got a lot of kills, like his kill count is high, so he has called himself Overkill rather than Saw Viper because he's just not a Viper, he's Overkill. If that all makes sense. Yeah. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know also if you're following this Energon Universe line, the G.I. Joe line. And let me know also if you're excited and will you be picking up the new series coming out on November 13. If you're watching this in the future, feel free to let me know how wrong I got all of this. If I made the wrong call on Overkill. But, I'm pretty confident. And most importantly, I'm just excited that we're seeing beautiful G.I. Joe content coming out, getting released. It makes me very happy. Thank you very much for getting to this point of the video. If you're not subbed, please sub. If you enjoyed the content today, hit that like button and stay tuned for future videos. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.